So let's erase this and we'll talk about how to break subconscious programming. And we'll tap into a little bit of what is more on the science side of things. Natural law is something that everybody has to abide by, like the law of gravity. Whether you believe in it or not, it exists. And if you don't believe in it, it doesn't matter. Just jump off of a building and you'll realize that it's real. There's other natural laws, like the law of cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, the second law of thermodynamics. So we understand that for everything we input, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction to that input. So what people focus on is they focus on the output instead of the input. So you can't control when you're going to become a millionaire. That's the output. People are focused on the output. They're focused on the reaction. They can't control the reaction. All they can focus on is the action. So for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So what are the actions that you have to input in order to make $1 million? Do you know them? Well, no, I don't know them. Okay, well, how many millionaires do you know? And how many millionaires have you gone into and asked them, what is the input for them to make $1 million? Don't ask just Simon, just look, go get 50. And I promise you, there's plenty of people on the internet to send them a DM and be like, hey, what's the one habit that, and then you put together your list and your formula.
They're very common habits. I've interviewed hundreds of millionaires and quite a lot of billionaires, and the habits are quite common.
Yes.
And you just mentioned some of them.
And if you identify them,
you know, be honest about your situation. I was just, again, like that lying thing really in particular, I really want people not to forget it, because it's like you can lie sometimes to people about your financial situation and say you're not in debt. You're better telling people you are.
Yes.
You know, don't hide things. That's about being transparent. But people don't. Most successful people actually, at their core, are very authentic about what's going on in their lives.
And we're going to talk about authenticity because it's super key to this. I'm glad that you mentioned that word. So what are the inputs to become a millionaire, right? List them all out. If you guys haven't watched all of Simon's content with all millionaires, go watch it and you can probably piece them together.
Any quick ones, by the way, that you've noticed?
First is you need to have a product, service, or a good. You need to have something that you offer of value to the marketplace. So product can be physical, can be digital. It can be a service, your time or somebody else's time.
I actually really love service business to start with, because they can be low cost, you know,
very cheap,
and get going quite quickly. Yeah.
And then you can have your physical products, your digital products, and then you have your goods. And your goods don't necessarily have to be something that offers utility. Like a pair of shoes, like a Nike pair of shoes, aren't necessary. They're just a good, a variable, a version. So for example, you could have a service-based business that offers car wash, but your goods are that you offer additional things to it and bonuses that don't have anything to do with the service. Like, do you sell them rim cleaner? Do you sell them additional perks and things that are inside of it? So you have your products, your services, and your goods. That's the input.
Yeah, by the way, people listening, most people who do a YouTube channel don't make money from the YouTube. They make money from affiliate links down below. They have goods on top of their service.
Yes. So you need to offer value. That's the first thing. If you don't have anything to offer value of, you're not going to make money. That's the main one. That's the most important one. And then the second one, so you need customers, man. Right. You need customers. So it's like, who is your target audience? People are thinking, okay, what am I going to sell? No. Who am I going to take care of? You start with the end in mind.
Most people are way too generic on this.
Yes.
So I mentioned yesterday we interviewed the billionaire Yat Su, and he was talking about niching down, how important niching is. People, customer-wise, people too broad. I would like sell T-shirts to men between 18 and 60. Well,
it doesn't work that way.
You won't sell anything to anyone.
You need, and we'll talk about the third one. Specificity. You need to be clear for yourself internally and externally. What are you going to offer? Who you're going to offer it to? At what price? Where? These are the clarifications that you need. Value to who and how. Very simple. And that will give you the output. And if you just focus on providing value to this specific person in this specific way, you're going to test whether or not it works. And if it doesn't work, the output will tell you that it doesn't work. And if it works, The input will give you the output. So that's the first variable. Inputs and outputs are super important.
Do you think, by the way, you might cover this in a minute, but I just wondered, do you think purpose helps you build this? If you have a purpose, gets you up in the morning?
Yes, and purpose doesn't have to be this deep thing like, hey, I want to go to Mars. Purpose can be, hey, when this customer needs my help in this specific manner, I am the most reliable person that they can go to. And I wake up in the morning and that's what fires me up.
I mean, that's why I've interviewed thousands of people. And what I noticed, like if I interview a nurse, she actually loves going to work.
Yeah.
She might not be paid well and all that, but she has a sense of purpose. If she goes to work, she helps someone's life be more comfortable. So customers being satisfied,
yes,
for example.
And it can be your specificity. It's like, it's why is it that you do that you do?
Yeah, you want the customer to have less pain. Literally that can be, but building purpose, I think, is so underrated into making the customers happy. I think my whole career, every business I've ever been involved in, financial, success, some have failed, but I've always made sure the customer was happy. Yes. So that customer is a lifelong relationship as well, if you do it right.
And that should be one of the outputs. The outputs should be, I guess we can delete it on the second thing because we're talking about inputs and outputs. Talk about the second one is going to be your LTV. Most people are focused on the front end money in the front end interaction. How can I take from somebody something the first time that I meet them? How can I extract a couple pennies, a couple dollars from this guy like a hungry motherfucking dog? Excuse my language because it pisses me off. They don't focus on lifetime value.
No. That is a big mistake a lot of people make.
They don't focus on the lifetime value of the customer. They focus on the quick money. So the input is the fast, first relationship, first interaction. They don't think about what's the long-term perspective? What's the long-term journey of this individual with me? When you focus on long-term value and lifetime value, which is so much bigger because it costs more to acquire a new customer than to sell an existing customer another product, then you stop focusing on making the money in the front end. And you focus on allowing the lifetime value of the customer to yield returns long-term, whether it's money, whether it's opportunities, whether it's connections, resources, it really depends. People are focused on the fast money, the fast transactions, and you can make some hustle money, but you're not going to get rich.
Well, I see people burn long-term relationships forever, sometimes going for the money.
Input and output. So mindset, number one, focus on just inputs, don't focus on outputs. The second one is we're talking about authenticity. When you look at a chart, for example, of this idea of the yogis and the Hindu masters talking about enlightenment, and they talk about the different chakras and all these energy things. And you read it and you wonder, and then you begin to do some research and there must be some science or some facts attached to this stuff. And there must be some intelligent people researching these things. It can't just be me that's curious. So I come across a study. And I'm like, okay, let me start reading it. And it's a study with the acronym SPAIN. It's an experiment that they did over 20 years, a span of over 20 years, which is the scale of positive and negative emotion. So what they did is they put individuals inside a Faraday cage. It was for those people that don't know what a Faraday cage is, this cage made with different aluminums and different metals that basically block any sort of Wi-Fi signal, any sort of frequency to come into that box. And then they began prompting people with what? With different tasks, different mindsets, different thoughts, different questions to determine one thing, the vibrational frequency that their body was kind of operating on when they gave certain responses. So whether it was positive frequency or negative frequency. So for example, let's say they prompted, disgust or anger inside of the person. Well, clearly they could tell that it was a lower vibrational frequency. So they're like, okay, interesting. So let's prompt some positive stuff. And they were like, oh, this is higher vibration. I'm like, oh, interesting. Because the body naturally reacts to your emotions. There's chemistry taking place when your emotions are kicking in. So when you have a negative thought, you're not just having a negative thought. There's an entire process attached to that.
Energy going out.
It's putting you in a different frequency. So the question is, okay, well, what's the best frequency to be in? If this is the scale of positive and negative emotions, I want to be at the highest scale of positive emotions. So what is the highest form of frequency that I can abide in? So that was the question that these scientists were asking. And if you start looking at, these yogi charts, you begin to see, greed, lust at the bottom, then anger, then you see love and gratitude. And then at the top, you see what? Enlightenment. Well, what is enlightenment? Okay, make that practical for me. Like everybody talks about enlightenment, but what is enlightenment? So they began prompting people. And they found that above what we often know as the highest form of frequency, or what everybody talks about, which is love. That's what everybody talks about, the highest form, the highest form of energy. They found that there was a frequency that made people vibrate 400 times more powerful than the vibrational frequency of love. And it was the vibrational frequency of authenticity. To become the truest version of yourself with no lies is to vibrate at the highest form that you can possibly vibrate at.
God, I love that.
So true. Giving you a sense of peace, equanimity, and truthfulness. And all the baggage doesn't exist because you don't have to wear a mask. Therefore, you can be who you are.
You can move faster. You can live free.
And authenticity, remember, vibrational frequency is fast. Key that you said that. Authenticity is the key to everything. And if you can do things authentically, you win the game. So once again, it goes back to the mindset. Like, are you being a liar? Well, you know when you're supposed to go to the gym. I'm not saying you have to go to the gym every single day, but you know when you're supposed to go and you don't go. You know when you're supposed to sit down and read that article or that book or listen to that thing and you don't do it, and you know you're supposed to. You're not being authentic with yourself because you want something, but your actions say something else. And your mindset and your actions need to be aligned. We talk about this concept of faith. People are like, you just need to believe. You need to believe that you can. Faith, without your ability to manifest it in a three-dimensional world through action, is dead. You can't just believe things. You have to create them through action. You need to materialize them with energy. And at whatever frequency you're going to place it at, remember, frequency always exists. What we're doing is we're tuning ourselves to that frequency. Nikola Tesla famously said, because once again, this goes back to the school system, how we're being taught. Nikola Tesla famously said, my brain is a receiver of information. But what are we taught in the school system? That our brain is to be jammed with things that you have to memorize, and this is blocked information, and this is how your brain works. Well, what if we're only tapping into 5% of our brain? What if the conversation here is, dude, what if I have to get smarter and tap into more of my brain? What if that's the maybe if you're operating off of 2%, you deserve to be broke because you're not operating at your optimal. So how do you expect to have optimal results if you're not operating optimally? It doesn't make any sense because you're going to attract that which you are. Naturally, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if Nikola Tesla says, hey, the brain's a receiver of information, the question is, what are the things that are causing static? My inability to receive information, or my inability to get inspired, my inability to actually put forth the effort and purpose that I want. Well, what's the music that I listen to? What are the friendships that I hang out with? What's my environment? What do I eat? How do I speak to myself? All these things are either causing static or stillness, and your ability to what? Receive information that gives you inspiration in order to act. Think of you and me in 1940 or 1950, driving down the Midwest in an old Cadillac, and we wanted to listen to some music. That music is already attuned to that frequency. What we have to do is tune the radio and position ourselves in that frequency so then we can tune into it. So most people, they want to operate at a high vibrational frequency, attract prosperity, attract purpose, attract wealth, but their actions aren't aligned with it. So you have to act and then you'll receive. You have to do, and then the outcome will produce itself. All you have to do is change your mindset and be like, hey, you know what? Instead of looking at the situation negatively, you may look at it positively. Well, how do I do it? I don't know. Lie to yourself until you believe it, just like you lied to yourself about the negative shit. But once you understand that you can't solve the problems in your life with the same mindset and the same information that gave you the problems in the first place, then you understand that you need a renewed mind and you need new information in order to behave differently. So authenticity is the name of the game. As much as it feels like it's a vulnerability factor, once you treat yourself with grace, like we were talking about in the beginning, now you enter a situation where you don't care because you're just learning and figuring it out. I would study the Spain experiment.
Right. I think I'd like to get on to some of the, I guess, creating demand stuff and the social media stuff in a moment. Just before I do the authenticity piece, just to clarify it, because I really believe in this so much and I want people to understand it. It's like, you've got to be authentic with yourself, right? First. It's not just an external or being authentic. One of the things I've noticed is I go for a lot of walks, and when I'm not thinking about work, when I'm just being myself, is when I have my best ideas.
Yes.
So that's a example of being authentic with yourself, not trying to force things as well, right? But people listen to music, which I think is cool, but sometimes they create a false feeling, and when the music's gone, they've lost that feeling. I think you have to get to that frequency, that authenticity frequency, sometimes without external stimulation.
You have to.
This content is supposed to help people, but in a way that people have to get there on their own and be authentic to themselves, what they want to do, what their vision is, what they're doing.
And it takes time. Because you have to chip away at yourself.
Yes, and what you're pre-programming.
And you have to identify whether that programming serves you or not.
It doesn't for most people.
It doesn't, but most people are prideful.
Right.
And they're like, no, bro, you don't even believe that shit. Yeah. That's not your belief. Yeah. Don't fucking hold on to it. You don't even believe it, dude. You're just, I was telling my assistant, he was in a relationship. If we can't say this, I'll cut it off. But I asked him, I called him one day and I'm like, yo, are you happy? And he lied to me. He was like, yeah, I'm happy. And then he told me the other day, he's like, no, I wasn't happy. I was just too prideful to tell you that I wasn't happy. And we do that all the time. I do that myself.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I tell people, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing good. Well, no, I'm not actually doing good. And
England is really bad. Here, you ask anyone, how you doing? No, I'm good. And then you're like, if you actually ask them truly, they're like, they're having some trouble with debt or they're having this problem, that problem.
Yeah, and by allowing that, you create the status quo that it's okay.
I'd love it if the whole world, if you ask someone if they're okay or not, told you the truth. It'd be really interesting. First of all, people would ask it less because most of the time people ask it and don't really mean it. So you get less wasted conversations, pointless. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. But also, I think people should just be honest.
Yeah.
And I think every time someone actually tells me they've got a problem, my brain goes into how can I help them? If they don't tell me the problem, how can you help people? Because I think the hardest thing is to ask for help.
Yeah.
That's actually the hardest thing for people. I think people want to help. That's my instinct. A lot of people I meet want to help people, but help themselves, very hard, pre-programming, or help themselves by asking for help. People find it hard.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help yourself if you suck. Like, you can't help yourself if you suck. So, okay, you need to fix yourself first. Well, how do you fix yourself? Small wins. It all goes back to the small building blocks. People want to overcomplicate it, man. It's not that complicated. If you know you need to exercise. If not, you'll deal with the consequences. That's fine. If you want to be poor, be poor. If you want to leave hate comments, that's fine. Do that. It doesn't bother us. It doesn't change our lifestyle. It is what it is, but it's your choice. And I often tell people, the rich and the poor are both self-made, but only the rich will admit it. The poor person will never admit that they're broke, and that they're responsible for it. No. You're full. If you're a grown up, if you're 15, 17, 19, 21, like, I get it. If you've had a bad life, you have some come up that you still have to do, and
then, and I could talk.
I get it.
I was 15 years old, and I was homeless.
Yeah.
But if I look back critically and looked at the time, I had an argument with my mum. I didn't compromise. She didn't compromise. And I got kicked out.
And she had leverage.
Yeah, she had leverage. Now, you could argue that was self-created, because if I'd had accommodated her and maybe worked it out, then I wouldn't have been homeless.
Yeah.
So it was self-inflicted. Although I blame her for most part of my life.
And most of it is once you get to that point of self-infliction, you understand that you're self-inflicting both negative and positive. So you're fully in control of everything.
Yeah.
And what I like about that is that nobody can take your wins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to take your losses. That's fine. I get it. I'll eat my L's by myself. I'll deal with the garbage. That's fine. But when I win, I'm gonna savor that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it's what we talked about. If you want to experience pleasure and you want to experience trophies and winning, perfect. You're gonna have to deal with what it takes.
Yeah.
And that's what most people are not willing to go, because they have the 9 to 5 paycheck mindset, which is, I work today, I get paid tomorrow. I work today, I get paid tomorrow. And if that's how you think, then you're living on today. It doesn't work that way. If you want to build true wealth, you need to be building imaginarily first as to what it is that you want. And sometimes that takes saving, that takes structure, that takes becoming a new type of person.
even a new community around you, like
a new circle of people.
It's hard for people. They grew up in certain towns, certain villages. They got their hometown.
Yes.
I even had. I've got 3 brothers. Two of my brothers, I don't like them. I just had, but that's really hard to say. You just assume because you're born into the same family, you're going to be the same. But you have to learn to be disciplined and say, well, they're not the people I want to be around,
and that's okay.
That I almost feel like that's my fault. Like that I'm born into a family where some people I didn't like. But I think people have got to admit it and maybe make the life they want. Take control, like you say, take ownership of that, and then you own the wins if you do that.
And the beauty about the wins is that it gives you the confidence that the small L's take away.
Yep, totally.
And you start cycling that, and you go to an upward spiral. People talk about the downward spiral, they never talk about the upward spiral. The upward spiral is just positive momentum and positive momentum reinforcement. You go fast, and you're like, damn, I'm getting lucky. No, you're not getting lucky. You're just reaping the reward of the effort that you put in 5 years ago. The loser calls it luck.
Yeah.
Because they have no ability to dictate their life.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as luck. Yeah. Everything in life is a game of what? Probabilities. Probabilities. So the question is, how do you increase your odds of success?
The more risk you take, the luckier you get.
There you go.